Thank you for joining us here on the Frank Sontag Unfiltered podcast. This is episode number 3. If you missed the previous 2, obviously, if you're watching this, you're in the right space. YouTube, Rumble, we're on a lot of media platforms. And without further ado, I want to get into today's topic. It's kind of like, have you ever gone to a really good movie or even a bad movie and you just want to talk about it for days? Well, depending on who you are, the Super Bowl, less the game, more the halftime show, was either a good movie or a bad movie. So I want to spend a little time debriefing and at the very least clearing my head because I still am super disturbed about what little I saw. So before I get into specifics, let me throw some stats at you that to me shocked me. Now, if you watched episode 2, where I talked about gambling, I had a guy hit me up. I can't believe you stole from your father. Well, you have to watch episode 2 if you didn't hear that story. These are unscripted. I just kind of go with where I'm led. But in the previous episode, I talked a lot about my concerns about the Super Bowl. And before it happened, now I'm going to talk about my concerns after it happened in terms of the halftime show. But one of my greatest areas of, still to this day, distress is in the area of legalized gambling. Let me just throw kind of a history of gambling. And in attribution, I want to give the person that I wrote these notes down from kudos. Of all people, it's Bill Maher. Bill Maher did a 8 or 10 minute monologue on gambling, the history in the country. I researched a lot of his facts. They're all spot on. So let me just throw some stuff your way. I have a men's group. I'm concerned about the state of manhood in the country, even young men. 48% of men 18 to 49 have at least one account of online sports books. Half the men in America under the age of 49 have an online sports book account. Are you kidding me? That shocked me. 57% of American adults say they report and engage in some form of gambling. We'll say legalized gambling. At one time, back in 1931, there was one place where gambling was legalized. That was Vegas, right? 46, the mob opened up the Flamingo in Vegas. I want to give you a history about how we went from then till now and how gambling is so normalized. It's everywhere. Stay with me. And then we'll get into the halftime fiasco. Depending on who you talk to, I had engaged with an acquaintance who professes to be like some perfect Christian, and he's like, I was more disturbed about Kid Rock on the TPUSA show than I was Bad Bunny. Why are you giving Bad Bunny such a bad name? I'm like, dude, you're Christian? Do you not understand satanic rituals? Stay tuned. We'll get to that in a moment. Gambling. 1931 Vegas. 1964, you may remember, states discovered the lottery. Hey, we're going to use the money for education, right? Nod, nod, wink, wink. 76, Atlantic City opened up. So we had Vegas in 31, Atlantic City 76. In the middle of that, for those of you that partake in the thoroughbreds and racehorses, 71 off-track betting became legalized, where you don't have to go to a place. You can sit there in the comfort of your own home and gamble your money away. 1988, we decided to, kind of give a nod to indigenous people, Native Americans, Indians, whatever you say. We gave them the right to open up casinos, right? As part of the reparation and what we did to them. So we introduce, in my estimation, the poison of gambling and say, here you go. So 88, we start seeing casinos pop up on Indian reservations. Here's where it all really went down. 2018, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, the Supreme Court struck down a ban on sports betting. So everywhere in 2018, it became the tip of the hat, go for it. Do you know ESPN even participates and partners with DraftKings? I didn't know that. Most gambling is done by young men. This is a problem. What are they searching for? What do we say about those of us that profess faith in Christ and about the love of money or instant riches. It's all in the Bible. Why is it that the majority of people that win the lottery big, if you research it yourself, most of them crash and burn? Tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, even millions of dollars. Instant wealth. They blow out. They can't handle it. Why is that? So let me get to the Super Bowl and some halftime thoughts. I have my statistics right here. Roughly, depending on who you read about, speak to, listen to, about 130 million people watch the Super Bowl, give or take 10. Halftime show, similar. Right after the halftime show, we were inundated in the legacy media. It was phenomenal to watch. The most watched halftime show ever, and they're throwing 160 million. They're throwing these stats out there. And my BS meter was just bleeping, like, right. So 128, 130, 135 million Americans watched the Super Bowl, the halftime. Now, that's not even half of the population. Stay with me. But that's a lot of people. Worldwide, by estimates that I found, only another 60 or 70 million people watched it. So in terms of the worldwide population, it seems like the world didn't really care about the Super Bowl. In terms of sheer numbers. I don't want to get bogged down in stats. So what is this all about? What about Bad Bunny? Here, let me give you a comment on my YouTube clip just to start it off. Now, my episode 2, I talked all about my concerns from gambling to sex trafficking on that day to drug use, alcoholism, violence. Just how that day is a day where there's a dramatic increase in such things. Now, maybe I'll go back or I'll ask my better half Dave here. I don't recall ever mentioning Trump in my previous number 2. Maybe I did. But I got this brilliant comment on my YouTube, which, by the way, if you want to comment on any of the podcasts, you're welcome to. Just go to YouTube, type in the Frank Sontag podcast. I get this one. And as we broadcast this, we're a little more than a week removed from the Super Bowl. I still think I feel like I need to take a shower when I think about the halftime thing. I'll tell you my specifics in a moment. I don't get the dislike for Bad Bunny. He's no more perverse or problematic than any big pop star. He's anti-ICE. Everyone should be. They're an issue. If you're pro-Trump, Frank, then you really need Christ. Don't mean to laugh. It's actually really funny. The halftime show was fun, energetic. It was about love over hate. All cultures coming together. This person posted on my wall. What about that slogan that we saw everywhere? The most powerful, what is it? There's nothing more powerful. Gosh. Give me a minute. We unedit this stuff. It was the greatest power. There's no more. What is it, Dave? Love, hate? What was it? Madison Avenue. Anyway, it was something like the most powerful force in the universe over hate is love. I mean, we got this whole love thing bombarded with love, unity, everybody together, guys twerking together, women jumping around, satanic rituals going on, Lady Gaga crowning him. But it's like, oh no, it's fun. It's unifying. And how about those lyrics for the family, right? Bobby and Janie gathered around watching the halftime show and Bad Bunny and not a lick of English. I even had somebody, I deleted this one. It was a nasty post about how I'm racist and sexist and homophobic, and because I brought up the fact that he didn't sing or more like chant in English. We didn't know what he was saying, but again, unifying, fun, family. So for those of us that decided to follow up and read and get some of the lyric breakdown, you know some of the things he was saying? I in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I don't know legalities. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm thinking, I know if he said that in English, the FCC would have fined a lot of money. Just perverse, literally demonic, debauchery, immorality. It was disgusting. And people buying the lie, unity, fun. Oh, it was just amazing. In my faith, that's the nature of evil. It's just purely the nature of evil. I do believe in evil. When I was a New Age teacher, evil was not a force, the absence of good, let's all love. Same kind of spirit that we're seeing being promoted now. Yeah, evil's not a force. Anybody that has a little bit of a gut check, spend a few minutes going through the Epstein stuff. Well, there's no evil. It's just the absence of good. Let me get to outrage in a second here, but I want to get back focused on the halftime thing. I even got into a little bit of a row with an acquaintance who is all about Christianity, and he reports all the time on Instagram. He's always quoting the Bible, and we kind of got into it privately, and he said, I was more upset about Kid Rock at the TPUSA halftime because you know what he has sung in his lyrics. And I'm like, seriously? So we're going to be upset about Kid Rock because he's got some rock and roll background. He did report and preach the gospel. But we're going to say he's worse than Bad Bunny, a Satanist. I mean, find out for yourself. Satan is just so marginalized now. I actually printed out, and I don't have it with me. I prayed about it. It's like, no, I don't want to speak that. But I actually printed out the tenets of the Church of Satan. You can go online. It will blow your mind. It's not horrendous, evil, cruel. It's all things like love yourself, be the best that you can. It's the world we live in right now. These are satanic principles. And if you think Bad Bunny is somehow some great uniting artist, check out some of the videos where his auto-tune is not on. Are you kidding me? And let me go a little unfiltered here. Jay-Z, who's this dude? Right? He bought the rights to the NFL halftime show 6 years ago, whatever. These are his artists that he promotes. What's he got? In my humble opinion, the dude's a warlock. I mean, it's not hard to figure out, even if you're not a believer or have any level of faith. You know in your heart of hearts, because God has written his law in all of our hearts. You know on some level what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's evil. You know it, and you may deny it. Yeah, but the lyrics are so catchy. And yeah, okay, I get it. Sin can be fun. But what am I saying? What did we just witness? What did we just go along with? What are we still being complicit with? Even those of us that profess faith, like this man I know, he's more upset about Kid Rock. Anybody know who Sophie Scholl was? Sophie Scholl was a young woman who was born in Germany, and during the rise of the Nazis, she started seeing something was wrong, to a point where there was a White Rose movement. You can go online, research it, where they started printing out sheets of paper basically saying, hey, wake up. The Nazis are not who they profess to be. She started being interested in the movement. Come to find out, it was her brother and some other people that were spreading these. They would go on college campuses, ironically enough, universities. Maybe we need a new White Rose movement on our university campuses. Anti-ICE, oh, whatever. But here's the point of Sophie Scholl. She was so convicted. She decided one day to go all in and become a part of this movement. Now, they weren't out in the streets protesting, but they would covertly, again, do things like pass out leaflets on college campuses when everybody was, in their classrooms. They would just leave stacks of literature. I want to say, I may be wrong, I think it was the University of Berlin. Don't hold me to it. But she got caught because she was on the university. She had a stack left and she threw them over the guardrail. And the janitor saw her, turned her into authorities. She was arrested. Her brother, I think one or two other people, they were eventually executed like the next day. But I want to give you a little quote from Sophie Scholl, and it's like, where are the Sophie Scholls of today when we have something like Bad Bunny and the Satanists just sticking it in our face? Sophie Scholl. The real damage is done by those millions who want to survive. The honest men who just want to be left in peace. Those who don't want their little lives disturbed by anything bigger than themselves. Those with no sides, no causes. Those who won't take measure of their own strength for fear of antagonizing their own weaknesses. Those who don't like to make waves or enemies. Those for whom freedom, honor, truth, and principles are only literature. Those who live small, mate small, and die small. She says it's the reductionist approach to life. It's the reductionist approach. If you keep it small, you'll keep it under control. If you don't make any noise, the boogeyman won't find you. But she says it's all an illusion because they die too. Those people who roll up their spirits into tiny little balls so as to be safe. Safe from what? Life is always on the edge of death. Narrow streets lead to the small places, wide avenues. And a little candle burns itself out just like flaming torches do. I choose my own way to burn. And she was decapitated the next day. What are we doing? Now, I want to be careful here. In my New Age days, one of the mantras, evil is not a force, it's just the absence of good. It's a spirit. I honestly didn't believe most of my younger life that evil was a force. I was raised Catholic, walked away from the church, didn't want anything to do with religion, thought I knew who Jesus was, went out in the world, did my thing for decades, and I had a radical encounter with God in 2009. My life, my perceptions, everything got turned upside down. And here we are, 15, 16, 17 years later, I have a relationship with God. Religion is another conversation. But in some of my circles of Christianity, we hear this, just love others, preach the gospel, Jesus loves everybody. Don't be talking about the enemy or demons. Jesus conquered it all at the cross. And I'm just like, it reminds me of Sophie Scholl. Oh, okay, let's just hide in our holy huddles and act like Jesus has this. When our kids are being indoctrinated, did you see the protests this past week or two? Kids, anti-ICE protests. Are you like a 6-year-old has any comprehension of what's going on? We've had decades of indoctrination into our school systems of this left mindset, and here we are. But we're just going to love them too, and it's all good. Jesus loves them. And I'm not a biblical scholar, but I know enough when I read the Bible. I'm like, wait a minute. Didn't Jesus turn over the money changers? Didn't he form a whip? Read in Revelation, he's coming back. Was he coming back singing Kumbaya and giving out free hugs? And some of you may not be Christian. Some of you may have another faith. Some of you may profess to be spiritual but not religious. And I'm going to point, you know something's wrong. You sense something dark is going down. And you're really bothered. You're conflicted. It's because God put a conscience in us. He wrote his law in our hearts. We know the difference between good and evil. But where the rub comes is, what do you do? We're seeing the Epstein files now. Those of you that are reading or looking, and maybe next week we'll get into that a little bit. But you can't live in a bubble anymore like, I'm just going to take care of me. Just as long as my 401k keeps building, when I hit that age, I'm going to retire and just hang out and play golf and enjoy life. In fact, you know what? Next podcast, we're going to talk about what is it all about anyway. We're going to talk about life, but let me stay on point here. So what do we do with the here and now? I absolutely denounce what happened at halftime. What has happened to Roger Goodell? You know, at one time, he seemed like he was a pretty together guy when he hung out with Pete Tagliabue, and he wasn't making tens of millions of dollars, and the NFL was about football. Now, even his comments I read on podcasts too, it's all about unity and growing our international audience. So he even, did you see the video of him hugging Bad Bunny after? Look, I'm not here to say we need to hate, because evidently love is the most powerful force over hate, right? We see that everywhere in social media. Just bombarded with that propaganda, social media, legacy media, screenshots, bots posting things on Facebook endlessly about this was the greatest thing to happen in the history of humanity. This man getting up there and uniting the worlds with the flags, and you're a fool if you bought any of that. You're deceived. You're blind. Frank, you sound so hateful. Can't we just all get along to get along? Sophie Scholl lost her head. Those with no sides and no causes. Those who won't take the measure of their own strength for fear of antagonizing their own weaknesses. We've got so much weakness in our culture. Men. Half the men have an online sports betting account. What are you doing? Do you work hard for your money? Do you want to get married and have a family? Do you want to live for God? Or do you want to live for the value of money and the buzz and the drug? And why do we have suicide rates that are outrageous? Why is addiction so off the charts? Something is wrong with our culture. So am I being antagonistic and hateful? I'm saying we have problems, and I'm speaking to what I believe is the absolute answer to all of these problems. That's having a relationship with God. Me as a man of faith, it's through the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. And we have a Father who made us, all of us. We're all his sons and daughters. But you have to be willing to submit to him and pray to him and live for him and understand your identity in him, not your identity in you. Again, go online, read some of the verses and the principles of the Satanic Church. Be your own God. Be good to yourself. Develop your intellect. Whisper, whisper in the garden. Did he really say that, Eve? We're here. When you can watch a halftime ritual like we all saw and buy into, that was fun. That was amazing. He's uniting people. Did you not see all the flags? Wow. If he would have spoken that in English, where we would have understood what he said, I don't know, maybe the masses would go, hey, you know what, we're just having fun. The moral decline of our culture and our world, some say it's always been this way, maybe it's the case, maybe we're just more aware of it, but we're here. We just celebrated my son's 18th birthday. I just look to the future and I'm like, wow. This, right here. People are like, it's always been this way. No, it hasn't. We haven't had technology. AI, Google something. AI this is the answer. Deep, profound. And then if you read, remember when we read the fine print? Even AI, this may not be completely accurate. It just begs the question, do we really want to know the truth? Or In the Bible, for those of you that are not Christian, I'm not going to push it on you. Don't, you're going to be okay. Just hear me for a minute. In the Bible, there's a story of Jesus when he came upon a man that was identified as a paralytic. He was paralyzed. I believe he sat around this area of healing for 38 years. And in the story, the pool had healing properties. And again, some of you, I was watching Bill Maher, who I really dig, but when you start talking about religion and faith, he goes a little tilt. He doesn't get it. I'd love to be on his show. Anyway, point being, in the Bible, it talks about the paralytic sat around this healing pool where they believed one person, an angel, would stir the water up, somebody would jump in and get healed. This dude sat there for 38 years. Stay with me. This is an important story, and it does apply to today. So Jesus comes on the scene, and here's the paralytic sitting there. And I imagine he gave up a long time ago. I mean, how can you sit there for 38 years? Probably the first year or two, excuse me, please help me, like he wanted to go in. 38 years later, he's just probably distraught, beaten down, lost, no hope. So Jesus shows up. And what does Jesus say to him? Hey, do you want to go in the water? Jesus said, do you want to be healed? What an odd question. I've watched pastors preach sermons, some spot on, some nauseating about what that actually meant. But Jesus said, do you want to be healed? Why would he ask somebody that's a paralytic, does he want to be healed? We have free will. Jesus was basically saying, do you want to own your life? Do you want to be responsible? Do you want to, at least in the realm of faith, do you want to absolutely annihilate, castigate, destroy your sin in your life? Well, then get up and walk. How does that apply to modern day? Do we really want the truth? Do we really want to live for the truth? Or do we just want to stay marginalized, like Sophie talked about? Stay in our weak place. Don't make waves. Because freedom comes with a cost. This young woman gave her life for principles of truth and honor and morality and freedom. And yet 99% of the population probably have never heard of her, but I will speak her name, Sophie Scholl. Where are the Sophie Scholls of today? Here's the good news. There are a lot of them. The youth is waking up. They're finding ways to speak truth in the culture. But the last thing I'm going to share with you, there is a battle going on. In the physical, it's not Trump and the Democrats. There, I mentioned him. Good God, we're so deceived. It's ICE. See the despicable things they do. Why is it in the 14 states they're doing the same thing? It's only in Minnesota where they got all the problems and all the cameras and all the people. Gee, what did Nick Shirley do? Oh, he exposed outrageous levels of fraud and corruption in that state. And now we're finding it's everywhere. California. This guy that acts like our governor, man, he's just a real piece of work. You want to talk about, I remember a phrase, we get the government we deserve. What are we doing? Do we really want to stand for truth? It comes at a cost. There's a lot of human beings on this planet. There's 340 million in the United States of America. Are we even the United States of America anymore? What happened the last 4 years with immigration? Oh, you're so hateful. Everybody should be allowed. We should love them. California, do you have health insurance? Are you legal? Find out for yourself what I'm saying there. And this isn't hatred. This is just saying, wait a minute. God knew what he was doing. He created government. Countries have a right to enforce their own borders. If you buy the no border lie, or if you're so isolated in Hollywood where you think you just worship at the altar of overinflated self-importance, where what comes out of your mouth is akin to, it's a creed. I mentioned in one of my podcasts, not to pick on Ethan Hawke, I like some of his movies. I saw a video of him basically cowering. I can't even speak anymore with this regime. I'm so afraid. As he speaks without any fear of imprisonment or anything happening to him. We're buying some lies here, and it's starting in the spiritual realm. Evil is alive. Said Christian, those of you that think it's just about preaching the gospel, wake up. I'm not giving the enemy credit. I'm not giving him anything other than speaking the truth as Jesus talked about. We are living in a day and age where we're getting more and more in a place of, look, I find like I'm going to start railing in another direction. I don't want to do that. I want to end this podcast in a moment, but our culture is so anti-God now. It's everywhere. I was driving to work. I drive to Orange County 3 days a week. There's billboards in Hollywood. I guess there's a show on TV. I'm not going to say it because it's an expletive. Begins with S, ends in T, something. There's billboards with vulgarity promoting this show or whatever. I'm like, we have no boundaries anymore. Right? Sexuality flaunted as, hey, it's a good thing. It's in our face. Social media, soft porn everywhere. People, videos, F ICE, F you, yeah, you coward, yelling at law enforcement. The overwhelming amount of, like the whole ICE thing. Who are the entities that are paying paid activists to go in and ramp it up? 90% of this, these are all actors. They're paid protests. They go across the country. They're paid by Soros and the whole thing. This is 5 years removed from what we lived through with the lockdowns, which I'll get to a podcast with. Waking up comes at a cost. When you wake up in the morning, you need coffee, you need to stretch, you need to have breakfast, you need to move around a little bit. We need to wake up as a human species. And part of the waking up process is not going to feel good. But once we're awake, you have a choice and free will. Do we go for the path of righteousness and freedom and honor and morality and truth and love? Real love, not this bad bunny hopping demonic crap that this love is love stuff. I was watching a video earlier of some woman talking about how pedophilia is a form of love and we need to honor them too because they're born that way. They can't help themselves. We need to love them. Whew. The greatest love is when a friend lays his life down for another. The greatest love was the sacrifice at the cross where Jesus died a horrible death so we can have a relationship with our Father forever and understand who we really are. When we throw around this word love, we're actually recording this on Valentine's Day. Chocolate, flowers, all the stuff. It's time to wake up. And I'm not saying anger is part of the problem, but righteous indignation gets in the mix here. Sophie Scholl was the epitome of righteous indignation, and she laid her life down for the greater good because she understood she couldn't live another day in cowardice or in fear or in compromise and weakness. We just had a little exercise with the halftime show, an opportunity once again to question, what are we doing? Who are we? Where are we going from here? So you're going to buy the propaganda and the fear and this is what's going on and Donald Trump, blah, 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 blah. I have issues with him. We'll do a podcast on some of the things he's done. The recent Apegate, reprehensible. But guess what? He's not God either. There's only one God. So my prayer is, those of you that profess faith, get real about what we're under right now. This is a spiritual war. Those of you that don't have faith, God has written his law in your hearts. I just pray you just cry out, God, are you real? Help me. And last thing, be part of the solution. Love people, be kind, be giving. There's a YouTuber, I think his name is, what is his name? He goes around and gifts people. If you watch any of his videos, you'll start crying. It's just amazing stuff to watch. That's part of God's blessing. So, shall we end? Your comments are welcomed, as long as they're respectful. If you want to be a little critical, post them on our wall. I'm not here for let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but if you're vulgar, if you're disrespectful, if you're mean-spirited, we'll delete you. But the whole Unfiltered series and what's to come, I want to challenge you. I want to shake you. I want to look in the mirror and go, Frank, wake up. What are you doing with your life now? We'll talk about that more next week. But for now, let us know what you think. You can email me at frank@kmgministries.com. Do I think Bad Bunny's a bad guy? No, he's probably broken and lost, but he is a Satanist. We have evil among us. What do we do about it? We'll leave that rhetorical question for another time. Until next week, may God bless you deeply. Thank you for watching this, the Frank Sontag Unfiltered Podcast.